Hi everyone. Today I'm going to try a video lesson with a PowerPoint. Now I've never done this before and I can't see my face while I'm recording, so I will try not to do weird stuff, but also please let me know if this is not helpful or it's not clear for you to understand, and be patient with me if I make some weird mistakes. So here we go. This is talking about literary elements. So this should be a review for most of you, but if it's not, that's totally fine. And if you want more information, the website listed here, literaryterms.net, has some really great details and more definitions. So the literary elements that we're going to be talking about today are just setting, characters, and plot. So understanding these elements can help us to understand what we're reading with more depth, or to notice things that the author has been trying to show us more subtly. Also, you can find these elements and devices being used in the TV that you're watching and the music that you're listening to, and even poetry and other things. So we will start by looking at these elements in TV and media, and then we will apply them to the books that we read when we get to that point. So we'll start with setting. Setting is where the story takes place. To describe the setting, you want to think about the five senses: place, time, and environment, and adjectives, so using descriptive words. When you're writing about the setting, you want to really make sure that you're only describing the setting, so the physical place that the story is happening in, and not describing characters, plot, and other details. Thinking outside the box, you can try and talk about the place or time period. So for example, if I said to you, picture Kingston in 1850 in the winter, that's going to look a lot different than, say, Kingston this year in the summer. Next, I'm going to talk about characters. So characters are obviously the people in the story, but they can also be animals or made-up creatures or aliens or anything. The actions of the characters help to move the story or plot along. And some stories only have one character. I don't know if any of you have seen Castaway, but it's about a man who gets stuck on an island because of a storm all by himself, and it's like a 3-hour movie with one character. And of course, obviously, there can be lots of other characters. So when you're describing characters, it's helpful to use really descriptive words. So the traits listed here are some of the words that are helpful when you're describing people or characters in your story. And there are two types of characters mainly that we're going to look at. So there's the major characters. Those are kind of the main characters. The protagonist is the main character that the story revolves around, and they usually have to make some sort of decision based on a conflict. So maybe that conflict could be with themselves, or it could be with some sort of society issue, or it could be another character. The antagonist is the character that causes that conflict with the main character. So often it's the bad guy, but it could also be technology or just an idea, or someone who's not necessarily bad but just wants the opposite of what the main character wants. The minor characters are the less important characters. I've listed here some different types, but just for examples, when you're thinking about the shows that you're watching, the main characters have a lot more detail. We know about them, we know about their families, we know what they're feeling. The other characters are just there to help the plot and to make it more realistic. So for example, if you're watching a show about some kids in a high school, you're not going to know about all 30 kids in their class. You're probably going to know about the main character and the character that you don't like, and then maybe some of the main character's friends or teachers, as opposed to knowing the names and character traits of each classmate that they have. And plot is the sequence of events that make up the story. So sometimes certain genres might follow certain plot patterns, for example, overcoming monsters or a comedy or a tragedy. But mainly the parts of the plot are the exposition, which is the beginning where we sort of get introduced to characters, setting, and the main conflict that's going to be happening. And then the rising action is when the main character is in crisis and the events are starting to build up and make the story more exciting and complicated. The climax is the peak of the story. So this is the most important, usually a major event or fight or some sort of conflict or drama that causes a change. This is the most exciting part of the book or movie or song. After that happens, the falling action is when the story starts to slow down and starts to work towards the ending. Loose ends maybe are being tied up, conflicts are being resolved. And then finally, the resolution or denouement, which is when the story resolves and all the sort of conflicts get figured out and everything is sort of happy and sunshine all again. So here's an example with just a really short story. So the short story is Caitlin wants to buy a puppy. She goes to the pound and begins looking through the cages for her future pet. At the end of a hallway, she sees a small, sweet brown dog with a white spot on its nose. At that instant, she knows she wants to adopt him. After he receives shots and a medical check, she and the dog, Berkeley, go home together. So in that example, you can see, obviously, the characters are only Caitlin and the dog, and you can read how it shows the examples of the plot. So in the exposition in the beginning, we get introduced to Caitlin and what her conflict is going to be. Of course, the climax is when she sees the dog that she wants and she decides to adopt him, and then in the end, she gets to take him home and it's all happily ever after. So next, we're going to watch, hopefully, this short movie. I think it's about 8 minutes. And we're going to talk about the setting, characters, and plot from this movie.
Tony, I'm sorry, but daddies don't always get to have fun. Maybe Grandpa Nono will take you to the park. He knows how to have fun too. Used to.
Nono only knows how to do grown-up stuff.
Hey, Dad. How you doing, son?
Yeah. Thanks for watching Tony on such short notice.
Well, I'm always happy to spend time with my grandson.
Okay, so I packed his bag. There's the regular stuff, bottled water, first aid kit, coloring book, snacks, flashcards, and it's gonna be sunny day, so please make sure he has the sunblock on. Sorry, buddy. We can play tomorrow, okay?
So here we can see we've been introduced to the characters. So we have little boy's dad, his grandfather, and his stuffed animal. So that is sort of the exposition and the characters. So the protagonist, we don't know yet, but it's going to be the little boy. He's the main character. And you can see the setting. It's set in, I would say, fairly present time, and it's summer or spring, and then you can describe the street that they're living on. And at this point, for the antagonist, we probably think that it's either the father, because he's not able to spend time and have fun with his son, or maybe just society and how we're too busy and he's too distracted by his phone and his job.
You said that yesterday.
Okay, you two be safe, okay?
All right. You just sit tight. I'll be done with the lawn soon. Santa Maria. You know, that wagon used to be your dad's. What say we take it out for a spin, huh? Keep arms and legs in sight at all times. I guess your dad didn't tell you about the escaped zoo monkeys. Well, they cause a lot of trouble around here. Did you hear that? They must be close.
So as we go here, you can see we're getting into the more rising action. So the plot is progressing, the conflict is being addressed, and the setting is changing. This short has a lot of different settings, so I won't describe each one, but I know that you would be able to figure that out. So we'll keep watching for the climax and the rest of the plot.
Jump! It's now or
So I would say this is probably the climax of this show. Something kind of bad maybe happens for a little bit. It's pretty exciting. They're at the height of their imagination journey, and it's the most exciting part.
That was a close one. Monkeys, crocodiles, they're just pests compared to the aliens.
Okay, so I messed that up, but I'm not going to start again because it takes too long. So, oops. I don't know why I cannot play. Okay. So I was just pausing because I think maybe I spoke too soon in the climax, and it could be the alien scene. It doesn't really matter. Basically, we're about to come into the following action when the dad gets home. And then I'm not going to pause it again in case that happens again. So you can watch for the following action and the resolution.
Tony, Dad, what in the... How did you two get so unbelievably filthy? What is that? Is that my... Did Nono tell you about the time we went to the moon?
Astronauts, prepare for liftoff!
It's now or never.
Fire up the hyperdrive!
4, 3, 2, 1.
Okay, so then you can see the resolution there. The father and son reconnect through their imaginations. Everything is sunshine and rainbows again. Yay! Okay, so now it's your turn. So you can choose a TV show or movie or video game or song that you have seen or heard recently, which we've had a lot of time for, so I'm sure that you all are watching some drama or movie. So you're going to describe the setting, characters, and plot for me using these questions down here. So you can submit your work using a Google Doc or a voice or video recording. I just wanted you to be able to try out some different things. So now you've submitted a doc and used the comments. So if you want to do voice, I know that sometimes it takes a long time to write stuff down, and you might only have one computer or no computer at home. So if it's easier for you to just make a voice memo or a recording of yourself answering the questions, that's perfect. So you're just going to tell me your name and the name of the show or movie or song that you've chosen. And then you're going to describe the setting, name and briefly describe the protagonist and antagonist, so the main character and the person who's causing conflict for the main character. And then you can describe the rising action, climax, and resolution of your media. And I think that's all for today. So I will see you soon.